Hey everyone, welcome back to the Gamers Hall. I'm Chris, and today we're talking about more rules that have changed in the new 2024 Player's Handbook. Let's talk about it. Alright, so the first one is going to be surprised. So surprise is no longer really a condition, it's just a thing that happens, which is also still going to be determined by the DM whether someone is surprised or not, or unless some special ability says that the person is going to be surprised or isn't surprised by something. But all surprise does now is give you disadvantage on initiative checks. That's all it does. So if anyone is surprised, first round of combat is still going to be just the first round of combat, not this complex thing that it was in the 2014 Player's Handbook. It's just, hey, first round of combat, bam, you have disadvantage on initiative checks. Initiative ties. So if any of the players' initiative ties with any of the DM's NPCs, the DM chooses who goes first. If it's PC and PC, then they choose who goes first. But otherwise, basically the DM is going to be the one that chooses who goes first from now on, instead of trying to figure out, oh, who has the higher dex, does this person have a 16 dex or a 17 dex, things like that. None of that's going to matter anymore. It's basically, okay, hey, you both rolled the same initiative, alright, well, I'll just choose who goes. And by I, meaning the game master, dungeon master. Another thing that's changed in the book is now knocking out a creature. First thing you need to know about knocking out a creature is it's melee attack only. You cannot do it on ranged attacks. You cannot do it on spells. Has to be a melee only. Basically, whenever you hit a creature, reduce it to 0, you can instead choose to leave it at 1 hit point, and it gains the unconscious condition. While it's unconscious, it basically starts a short rest. At the end of the short rest, it will lose the unconscious condition. And while it is unconscious like this, if the creature or PC regains any hit points at any time, or someone uses the help action to administer first aid or anything like that to them, then that can wake them up. But otherwise, they're unconscious for basically an hour. Alright, so here I have a list of actions that have changed. Now, the ones that are going to be in red are basically the same. The ones that are in blue are almost the same, but they have some slight changes to them. The ones in yellow are completely new and were not in the 2014 Player's Handbook, but is now in the 2024 Player's Handbook, and let's talk about these. Alright, so the influence action is you will make a charisma, deception, intimidation, performance, or persuasion, or wisdom animal handling check to alter a creature's attitude. I'm wondering if there's going to be more about this in the Player's Handbook or not, because that's a little vague, and I hope maybe they give some good examples of what that could be, because influencing could influence a lot more than just an attitude. It could also influence actions, and I'm wondering if this might have something to do with that, or if this is a possibility, or is just the attitude just the guideline for where it is and where it stops. And the other one is utilize. So you utilize a non-magical item. So, these are two things that may not come into play. We'll see in the future on these. Alright, one of the other things that's changed is heroic inspiration. Now, this isn't what they originally had planned it out to be. I really hated the original version of this, but the newer version, I don't mind it so bad. It's actually pretty good. So basically, if you make any D20 test, you can now basically just use your heroic inspiration and get a reroll on it. And then you have to use whatever the new roll is. So this is good because, sometimes you want to give yourself advantage on something, but, it kind of sucked if both rolls were good. So it's like, oh man, I really didn't even need it. I kind of wasted it. So now it's like, okay, basically when you fail or when you think you fail a test, now you would use it to try and get a success. And I think this will lead to it being used more often and being a little more important. But I like it this way. All right, so another one of the things that's changed is nets. And the way that nets have changed is basically when you take the attack action, you can replace one of your attacks with throwing a net. Target a creature you can see within 15 feet of yourself. The target must succeed on a dexterity saving throw, DC 8, plus your dexterity modifier and proficiency bonus, or have the restrained condition until it escapes. The target succeeds automatically if it is huge or larger. To escape, the target or a creature within 5 feet of it must take an action to make a DC 10 athletics check, freeing the restrained creature on a success. Another one of the things that's changed on this is the fact that destroying the net, AC 10, 5 HP, it is immune to bludgeoning, poison, and psychic damage. Also frees the target, ending this effect. This is kind of a big change because this means you can't catapult nets at people anymore and capture them, having like a little double effect there where you get the damage from the catapult if they fell on top of the fact that they're getting restrained in the net. Because now you have to take your action and they have to fail this saving throw. Because the one previously said when a creature is hit with a net, which meant you could catapult it and send it at them, and if it hit them, they were restrained. But now they've taken that away. I don't know if they did that on purpose because other people may have been doing things like that or not. I know I was a big component of that. I used it a lot as a DM and as a player. You know, what do you guys think about the net changing like this? So, you know, I like the fact that, you know, you can replace one of your attacks with throwing the net. So it kind of makes fighters really nice. You could, you know, net somebody and then run in and stab, or just bludgeon them to death. Or, you know, like, you know, it could be like a, hey, throw this on and then kind of run away from somebody. It's, you know, there's a lot of things you can do with a net, but I definitely see this as being more useful for the fighter or anyone that has multiple attacks. But it's, you know, it's not bad. It's I like some of the stuff, you know, but it does make sense. You know, it's immune to bludgeoning, which means if you hit somebody that is encased in a net, the net won't take any damage, but they will take damage. I'm assuming that, unless somebody's playing the game to where it's like, well, the net's immune to damage, that means it soaks up all the damage and then they're not taking it. But I don't think that's what it's meant to be. I wouldn't rule it that way. I would just rule it as you're hitting two things at once. The net doesn't take any damage, but the person on the ground or creature would take that damage. You know, what do you guys think about this? Do you like it? Don't like it? Let me know. The hide action has changed. Now, I'm not going to be able to do a deep dive on this because I haven't found anyone or anything that's posted what the new invisible condition is. So until I get the 24 players handbook, I won't be able to go any further on this rules wise, but this is what I have so far. So with the hide action, you try to conceal yourself. To do so, you must succeed on a DC 15 dexterity stealth check while you're heavily obscured behind 3/4 cover or total cover, and you must be out of an enemy's line of sight. If you can see a creature, you can discern whether it can see you. On a successful check, you have the invisible condition. Make note of your check's total, which is the DC for the creature to find you with a wisdom perception check. They will require them to use the search action in order to try and find you. So if they don't, then they're not going to be able to find you. The condition ends on you immediately after any of the following occurs. You make a sound louder than a whisper, an enemy finds you, you make an attack roll, or you cast a spell with a verbal component. Now there's a lot to unpack here. Okay, let's just talk about the fact that you can't even attempt to make a hide unless you are heavily obscured, behind 3/4 cover or total cover, which means, hey, flipping the table over, standing behind the bar, and, trying to make a hide action for that, that's not going to work. The only way that that's going to work is if you duck completely behind the table or duck completely behind the bar. Half cover is not going to give this to you. You have to be 3/4 to total cover or heavily obscured. So a little more detailed in the wording on when you are allowed to take that action. I think that's going to clear up a lot of things with the hide action. Now, the other thing is this. So the condition ends on you immediately after any of the following occurs. And that is, you make a sound louder than a whisper, the enemy finds you, you make an attack roll, or you cast a spell with a verbal component. The thing I'm wanting to focus on is the enemy finds you. Now, just because the enemy didn't search for you doesn't mean that they wouldn't find you. What I mean by this is if you are hiding somewhere and you step out of that being hidden, like let's say you're hiding around a corner. Well, since you're around a corner, that's total cover. You make the hide check, boom, you pass. But if you step around that corner and they're able to see you, you're not still hidden, there's not darkness or anything obscuring you, then you stepping out of that and them seeing you, that is them finding you, which means you would not have advantage on that attack roll because you are stepping out of the area that you're hiding in. So you're basically losing the hide condition because you're getting out of it. It's not like you're staying hidden and moving into a place while remaining hidden. You are literally leaving it. So if you leave it, that counts as an enemy finding you. Therefore, you would lose the condition. Another big thing that I think is important about this distinction is the fact that you must be out of any enemy's line of sight. Meaning, even though, for instance, you flip a table over or you run behind a wagon or something and you try and hide behind it, well, just because all the people over there can't see you behind that wagon doesn't mean the people over here can't see you. So, as long as an enemy has line of sight on you, you cannot take the hide action. And this is different from the 2014 version, because in the 2014 version, you would at least still be able to hide, but you would be hidden from the people that couldn't see you, but you would still be seen from the people that could see you. And now they're just saying, hey, if anyone can see you, that's an enemy, then you are not hidden, because that person is basically going to be giving away your location or doing whatever it is to give away your location. So as long as someone has line of sight on you that's an enemy, you can't even attempt to make the hide action. And I kind of like that distinction. I think that's going to be a very big component to the hide action and how people are going to use it and not use it and it's going to be a factor that they're really going to have to think about, when doing this in combat. But what do you guys think? Do you guys like how the hide action is now? Do you like how it reads out? Or do you think I'm reading it wrong and it's not going to play out that way? If you believe that, please tell me, and we can discuss about this and see whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong. I don't mind discussing these things. I like talking about things to get to the deeper meaning behind them. Or is it just one of those things where we're really going to have to wait and see what the full 2024 Player's Handbook says? Because for me to do a deep dive on this, I need to know what it says on the invisible condition word for word, and I don't have that. But tell me what you guys think. Alright, so saving throws have changed in the new 2024 Player's Handbook, and basically saving throws are pretty much the same. The biggest difference is the fact that now it is actually written in the rules that you can choose to fail a saving throw if you want to. Now, I don't know why they had to put this in there. I don't think I've ever seen a table where someone wanted to choose to fail a saving throw and the DM was like, no, you can't do that. You have to roll. But maybe, but either way, they put it in there just for now. So if you need to fail a saving throw, you can.